Let's say someone has, I don't know, 200, $300,000 in student loan debt, and they're using the income driven repayment option. They're using the tax deductible. They're finding their state-based programs. They're doing all of this. What do you think in 10 years their loans would actually be?
Well, a lot of the people that are in the $100,000 plus range probably do qualify for public service or at least some type of assistance. So we're usually talking about doctors and lawyers are the most common people to incur large amounts of student loan debt. We're also talking about people with graduate degrees. So graduate school is like the number one thing that like sets people well over the six-figure mark. And a lot of these degrees end up in teaching, education, college professors, research. So there are options there for public service loan forgiveness. So it's not just the income-driven repayment plan, but that public service loan forgiveness piece as well. And so I strongly encourage people to look into that, especially when you think about being a doctor. A lot of people don't realize that you're in residency for 4 to 6 years, which you're working at like a nonprofit hospital. So by the time you're officially a doctor, when you're done with your training, you might have already worked for 6 years. So you only need 4 more years of nonprofit work to get loan forgiveness. Or if you're going to be an educator at college, right? You're going to get that graduate school degree. You might be working in a fellowship or other research program that you could be eliminating your undergraduate debt from with public service loan forgiveness. And then when you graduate with your PhD, you're probably going to go work at a college or university or a research institute or some other type of nonprofit, and you can get public service loan forgiveness as well. So there are a lot of paths to loan forgiveness, and people just need to kind of understand their options and do their research. But again, if you're not going to have those loan forgiveness paths, it's really a struggle to deal with $200,000 in student loan debt. And that's going to be a hard burden to get out of.
So how would you propose someone like me who has a voice to the media? How can I get this information out there? Other than these videos, how can I get that information out there?
It's really helping our young adults today, the 17-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, and their parents. We don't put enough pressure on parents and families about these conversations because, let's be honest, a lot of the college decisions, where people go, are a family decision. The kids kind of have some ideas of where they want to go, but parents kind of push them in the right direction or push them in a direction of what's going to happen. And parents need to have these conversations with their kids of what's expected, how are you going to pay? And if there's an alternative choice, maybe it's going to community college for 2 years, which, by the way, is free in over half the states, and then transferring to your state school and graduating with maybe $15,000 in student loan debt. That's a great financial choice for college. And families should be very supportive of that for their young adults in their families and not, pressure them into a private school just because the name is there. Because I think we all know, too, by the time you're in your, late 20s, 30s, and 40s, nobody cares where you went to school. By the time you're at your second job, no one asks where you went to school. They only care about what you did at your last job. So the value of this piece of paper that you're getting, really does start to fall off pretty quickly after you graduate as well.
It falls off, but I'll play devil's advocate. I say my Columbia degree got me in some doors. Like it'll open the door. And sometimes you need that initial door opening to kind of propel you at the start of your career.
100%. I agree with you. But then I always say the other side of that sword is if you don't take advantage of those doors and you're in your 30s and people are like, you went to Columbia and what happened? You kind of go both ways. And it really doesn't necessarily work out. So there is a double-edged sword with it, but it does open doors. It does show you can do the work. And, you have to leverage your network and your tools too, though. And I don't know if we've necessarily taught all of our young adults how to leverage networks and career networks and use the alumni association and different things that could help you with those doors. You got the tools, you have to use them though. And that's part 2.
That is. All right. Our final one, number 6, anything could happen with federal student loan debt. What do you mean by that?
It can. And now this is the long shot, right? But number 1 is that the Supreme Court could say, hey, Biden's student loan forgiveness is legal, and we're going to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in student loans. If that happens, you're going to regret that you paid him off. Like, let's be honest. Part two is it could be the student loan pause could be extended again. Again, this is a very long shot. It might not happen. It probably won't happen, but we've heard the word final at least a couple times at this point in time. So there could be another extension or a pause or something like that. So, the bottom line is that, there are going to be options for your federal student loans. There are options that exist today. There are options that could come in the future. And you're not going to see those options with other forms of debt. You're not going to see them from private lenders, from credit card debts, from your car loan company. They're not extending you these types of deals. So as you're looking at all the different types of debt to repay, I would definitely prioritize credit cards, payday loans, short-term loans, personal loans, car loans, well before you start tackling these student loans. They should be very low priority. Always make your minimum payments, but don't get aggressive with them unless you know you've tackled all these other things.
All right.